This new second generation Nissan Kicks wins my personal award for best glow up ever because it went from a frumpy, very budget SUV that felt very budget to something that is much more grown up and upscale and a lot cooler. And I was really surprised by this because I didn't particularly like the first generation Kicks, but this one checks all the boxes.
For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that.
Nissan did an absolutely fabulous job with this redesign because it looks nothing like the old one, and that's a really good thing because the old one had absolutely no personality. But this new Kicks is bold, bright, and in your face. I really love this aggressive new design, and it's great because this segment is pretty boring, so it's nice that the Kicks stands out. I absolutely love that Nissan has offered it in this bright yellow color. It's the same yellow that's available on the Nissan Z sports car. It's a $795 option, but honestly, it is worth every penny. This is the best color that the Kicks comes in, and if you get one, please get it in this yellow. I'm also a really big fan of this new lighting signature. It looks high-end, very cool, and this big, bold grille also looks fantastic. These wheels are new and I love the design. They're really aggressive looking. And I also love this contrasting black floating roof, which comes with this yellow paint. So in general, Nissan did a great job and I love this Kicks' new style. So this new Nissan Kicks is now powered by a new 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. It has 141 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque, which are both increases over last year's model, which had a 1.6-liter engine. Now that is more power and torque than before, but the SUV is also a bit heavier than it used to be, so the difference doesn't feel as drastic. And that's hooked up to a continuously variable automatic transmission, so a CVT. And surprisingly, this one's actually pretty good. A lot of auto reviewers kind of complain about CVTs, but the one in the Kicks feels very good, especially off the line. There's a lot of jump off the line, so it's great for in-city driving. The size also makes it very manageable in the city, very easy to maneuver, very easy to park. And it's not a fast vehicle. It will get you up to highway speeds pretty comfortably, and you can pass someone pretty convincingly, but it's not fast. For this class of vehicle, that is completely fine. The only issue with the CVT is that when you really put your foot into the pedal, it can get very, very noisy and not in a good way. I feel like the Kicks also struggles going up hills a little bit. But the good thing is that now the Kicks comes with all-wheel drive, finally. The previous generation one was front-wheel drive only. And so this one's really nice that it comes with all-wheel drive, which of course on a snowy day like today, with these great winter tires on, it feels very sure-footed. It hasn't slipped once today. And so I think that's something Canadian drivers really, really wanted with the Kicks. So it's great to finally see it. Officially, this Nissan Kicks is rated to get a combined 7.7 liters per 100 kilometers. And you might actually notice that that's less efficient than the previous Kicks. And that's because it has a bigger engine and it also has all-wheel drive. So typically when newer generations of vehicles come out, they're more efficient. But that's not the case with this one, but it does have a good reason for it. I've been easily getting about that much and a little bit more. I was hovering at about 7.8, but it is cold outside and we are on winter tires, so it's obviously not going to be as efficient. I'm honestly pretty happy with those numbers. That's pretty in line with what everything else in this segment with all-wheel drive does. So that's great to see. It would be nice to see a hybrid model like in the Toyota Corolla Cross, which is a competitor to this. That one comes as a hybrid, but I think that would honestly make the price a little bit higher. So what we get here is pretty good. So while it is reasonably efficient, My main beef is that the Kicks has a really small gas tank. And that's kind of an unusual complaint, but this gas tank only holds 45 liters, which means you can only get about like 500 kilometers to a single tank. And I drive a lot, so for me, it would become really, really annoying to go to the gas station that often. So if you have a really long commute, I just wanted you to kind of consider that before you sign up to buy a Kicks, is that you might want to look for a vehicle with a bigger gas tank. Another part of the Nissan Kicks' great glow up is the interior. The previous one was so boring and had no personality, but I think Nissan did a great job making this interior feel more lively and more upscale. So there are a lot of like hard plastics used, but they're not in really high touch areas. This fabric here is very interesting because they made it look like carbon fiber, but it's actually a little bit squishy, which was kind of a surprise. It's not the best, but I do really appreciate that Nissan used a lot of different textures and colors in here to give it more life. Like, I love the contrast stitching. Even this orange trim where the gear selector is really nice. And it has some ambient lighting around here that you can't see right now because it's too light out, and there's a little bit on the door. But I really like those touches because it gives it a lot of life at night, which is nice to see. The other thing I really love is that it's bigger than before, so there's more cargo capacity. Because this one's all-wheel drive, the trunk isn't as big as a front-wheel drive model, so keep that in mind if you want maximum cargo capacity. But even though the Kicks is bigger in all dimensions, our video producer, Will Johnson, is back there, and he feels kind of cramped. There's not a huge amount of headroom in there, even though there's that huge recess in the roof. But the seats are really, really comfortable. They use this zero gravity technology, which is the same stuff that NASA uses. And so the seats provide a ton of long distance comfort, which I think is great for a vehicle in this class. You know, they usually have cheapo, uncomfortable seats. These ones might be the best in the entire segment. What I really loved to see in this Kicks is that they've packed it full of a lot of features that we're used to seeing in more expensive cars. Like even this new screen setup with this 2 widescreen, it looks great. That's something we're used to seeing in a lot more expensive cars. And so there's a digital screen for the gauge cluster and another touch screen for all the controls. They got rid of a lot of physical buttons, but they still have many of them, which makes it very user-friendly. There is this panel of touch capacitive buttons for the climate control, but they're honestly very easy to use because the buttons are very big and they're very clearly labeled. I think the screen also works really well. It's quite user-friendly. There's a couple menus that don't really make sense. Like, it was really hard for me to find certain functions and then find them again later. And there's a couple of other really weird things too. Like, I was driving at night and this gauge cluster was so freaking bright, it was blinding me, where most other cars just have a sensor that would automatically adjust the brightness. And so I was flipping through all the menus trying to find how to make this screen less bright. And so I went through all the menus. I finally found the brightness level adjustment for the main touch screen, but not the gauge cluster. And I was looking everywhere and I was so confused. And then finally I found it. There's a little physical switch right here on top of the screen, and I couldn't see it because the steering wheel was blocking it. And so I just thought it was such a weird design. Now that I know it's there, it's very easy to use and actually very convenient, but no one else does that. So in that sense, it is a little bit not user-friendly, and I think they could have improved on that. But I just wanted to point that out in case you bought a Kicks and you're wondering the same thing. It's right here. Another important thing that I wanted to mention is that Nissan packs its Kicks full of all the safety stuff that you want. So stuff like blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, and then the top line SR model that I'm driving adds stuff like a 360-degree camera, which is really great. It adds their Pro Pilot Assist, which is their adaptive cruise control for highway, which also includes lane centering, which is really, really nice. It also has rear cross traffic alert, all that good stuff. And the system works really, really well. For a car in this class, it is so smooth, and I really enjoy using it. So while the interior looks pretty great, I think Nissan could have done a better job with making sure there was more places to stash stuff like keys and wallets and phones. Small item storage is not great in here. This storage compartment underneath the armrest is so tiny, And even the door pockets are barely big enough to fit a water bottle. So I really wish there was just more small item storage. But other than that, the seats also fold in a 60-40 pattern. I kind of wish it did a 40-20-40 pattern instead, so the middle could fold down independently. Just makes it a little bit more practical. But out here on the road, I'm really liking how the Kicks is driving, especially on a dreary day like today. To get a nice bold pop of that yellow, it makes me so happy. I also forgot to tell you that now this Nissan Kicks comes standard with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is great. There's also a wireless charger in here. But one of my favorite features, one of those high-end features that I like to see in this kind of budget car, is this audio system. So normally cars in this segment have really crappy, tinny audio systems. This one has a really nice one, and it actually has speakers in the headrest. So it gives you this very like 3D sound experience, and it sounds great. I really wanted to point that out because that's pretty unusual for this segment, so I love to see it. So something that's a little bit confusing is that this is the all-new second generation Nissan Kicks, but in an interesting twist, Nissan is going to continue selling the previous generation Kicks alongside this one, kind of as a budget option. It kind of makes a lot of sense for them because their cars are so different and this one is so much better. But if you're still on a budget, you could buy the old one. The prices for that one, which again is front wheel drive only, you can get for about $23,000 to $25,000, which is an insanely good value. If you're new to the country, if you're a student, if you don't have a lot of credit, that is a great option. So if you have a little bit more budget to play with, you can get into this new Nissan Kicks for about 27 grand for a front wheel drive model. The top line one I'm driving with all wheel drive, it's the SR. It comes in at about 35K, and all those prices are before destination. And I know those prices might seem like a little bit of a shock to you, but that actually represents a pretty good value. I think the Kicks stands really head and shoulders above a lot of the other competitors in this segment, and it offers a ton of value. And in this segment, that's super important. To recap, I love the Nissan Kicks' new style, comfortable seats, and long list of features. I'm not a huge fan of how small the gas tank is. This Nissan Kicks' glow up was so dramatic because it is so much better than it used to be in almost every single way. I love its newfound style, but I also love the fact that it has so many features we're used to seeing in more expensive cars. This Nissan Kicks is an excellent choice for anyone shopping in this segment.